Hello Internet, Lieutenant Ellis here with the 299 Scouts, Dangerous Skills for Dangerous Places. Today, for drill number 13, we're covering my absolute favorite drill, Time Crisis.
Action!
Time Crisis is a drill that the 299 Scouts came up with this past deployment. We'd go to the range every Friday and we would just run this. We'd run this with pistols, we'd run this with rifles, we'd basically run it until we're absolutely exhausted. And what it entails is moving from cover to cover and engaging with one shot. So you've got two barricades, barricade A and barricade B, the width of the range. You start out at barricade A, at the buzzer, you sprint to barricade B, lean out, take one shot, one precision shot. Sprint back to barricade A and take another shot. And you're gonna do that 6 times. Doesn't sound like a lot, it sounds simple, but man, you get your cardio up in a hurry when you're sprinting back and forth along this range and trying to get those accurate front sight focused shots because our targets are challenging. Now, the performance steps for this drill is moving quickly between cover. Now, you don't want to kind of like do like a cartoon like, here we go. You want to move explosively and sprint towards that next piece of cover. As you're moving, then you draw. You don't want to get into the habit of drawing your gun and then moving, because then if anyone's trying to shoot at you, you just gave them a stationary target while you're trying to draw your gun. So move, draw, then shoot. Always in that order. Now, as you're sprinting to the next piece of cover, you want to accelerate hard, and you don't want to decelerate until you're behind concealment. I can visualize it now. You're going to run, you're going to see where the barricade is, you're going to kind of slow down to a trot, and then that way you can get a good platform to get your shot. No, you want to sprint until you're absolutely behind cover, and then stop. Then once you stop, you want to lean out and you want to maintain a low silhouette, as you would say, or you want to minimize the amount of exposure you have to a bad guy. So as you're peeking around that barricade, you're just leaning out just enough to get your sights on target and fire. And then you're going to go and come back behind concealment or cover, and then sprint back to the other to the next barricade. So now this drill is interesting in the sense that the safety considerations, like you'd have on any live fire range, aren't mutually exclusive with the tactical considerations you'd have in combat. So if I'm moving from right to left, so I've got my targets down range, and I've got my audience back here, and I've got the range safeties and all my buddies, I'm obviously going to keep my weapon oriented down range. I'm not going to be, we don't trust each other, no matter how high speed we are, we don't trust each other. You have to be like sprinting around with our guns like this. So you keep our weapons down range, and that's basically what I would be doing in combat as well. If there's targets right there, I'm going to keep my weapon oriented towards them. I'm going to be a little bit chicken wing so I can sprint harder, but I'm going to, if I need to, I can punch out and I can take a shot mid-sprint. Now moving from left to right, same thing though, like, I'm not going to be running at, as advantageous as that would be, I still want to keep my weapon oriented towards the bad guy. So I'm going to have my thumb index along my pistol slide. I've got my weapon oriented towards the target, and as I'm sprinting, if I need to take a shot, I can shoot like this. I can find my sights, or I can shoot down the angle of the slide and point shoot. But that's something that we're going to be covering once again in Time Crisis 2, taking those shots between pieces of concealment and cover. Okay, so we're all set up for Time Crisis, and now Time Crisis isn't a base defense plan. This is not how I'm going to defend my home, where I'm going to run to battle position 1 at the bedroom and fire one shot, and I'm going to run back over here to the living room and fire another shot, and then back to the bedroom. No, it's simply a drill of how quickly can you sprint into cover and then take a shot, a single shot from around cover. So if you want, you can take follow-up shots. I actually prefer to keep the intensity of the drill up by, if you miss, you just miss, and you've got to sprint and get to another position, so you're avoiding that return fire, theoretically. So I've got my target downrange, that well-dressed bad guy, home invader. He tricked me by saying he had a can of whiskey for me, but it turns out he's actually here just to rob me. So that just gives us a little bit of audible feedback, a cheap, poor man's reactive target.
Action! Action! Action!
Alright, so that's drill number 13, Time Crisis. And now I gave myself 30 seconds on the shot timer, but honestly it doesn't really matter because you're sprinting as hard as you can back and forth between those positions. You know, if as long as you're running as hard as you can, and as long as you're, you know, only minimizing your exposure and only exposing the bare minimum that you need to in order to take that shot, I consider the training learning objectives, the terminal learning objectives met. And I don't need a shot timer to tell me that I was moving fast enough. So just challenge yourself to run as hard as you can and take your shots fast and accurate. If you want, you can shoot more than 6 bullets, but I guarantee 6 is plenty when you just want to get your cardio up, and you'll feel it after 6 rounds of sprints plus taking those shots. Alright, so next drill number 14, we're going to go into Time Crisis 2, which is going to cover the distance of if you had to take a shot between point A and point B, between barricade 1 and 2, can you run sideways while punching out and taking that shot? Can you run sideways and maintain control of your pistol, index on the bad guy, find your sights or point shoot and take that shot? So that's going to be next drill, Time Crisis 2.